Hi guys, welcome back to Cornerstone Chat Season 2. I'm Robert, this is Ashlyn, and we are part of the youth ministry in Shorts. Our videos are devotional based for the teens in our youth group, but we hope that they are relevant to you or you get something out of them as well. If you've got any future themes, please let them know in the comments below. That'd be good. But we are continuing through the letter of the alphabet because it keeps us on track.
It does.
We're now in the letter V's. We hope that you've enjoyed all of our previous videos. If not, you can go to your playlist and go through. But the letter V that we are doing is for volunteering.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm going to pass it over to Ashley.
Yeah, it's all on me this week. How exciting for you. But yeah, so this week we're going to talk about volunteering, and for the most part I think we've covered a lot to do with volunteering and like the basis of it. So first things first is like our no and yes video. That's like a big part of it. If you're being asked to volunteer somewhere, make sure that you've kind of had a chat about it with yourself, with your family, if that means like your ministry family or if that means like your like house family, it doesn't matter. Have a chat with someone else and make sure that it's something that's like for you. And if you're saying yes, make sure that you can follow through with that, just like our no and yes video said. And the second thing as well is time management. If you've said yes and you've committed to something, no matter baptised, not baptised, volunteering for church, volunteering for anything else that's not church, you're still a representation of God. As soon as someone finds out that you go to church, that's it. You are now a witness for those people that you're either volunteering for or serving as part of your volunteering. So no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, you're representing God. So make sure that, you know, you show up in time, you show kindness, you show love, like no matter to who it is, to where it is that you're doing it. Just keep in the back of your mind that when you said yes, that means you are like showing up for God, basically. And we covered that in time management as well, about doing everything as though you're doing it for God, because that is essentially what you're doing when you're living your life for God. You're doing everything for Him. So that just kind of all plays into that. But now for volunteering, I think personally I had a bit of a think about this, because us ourselves are volunteers, and I was kind of thinking about what would I have wanted to hear before I stepped out into volunteering. And I think in our church, because we do a lot of outreach, we see all of the people before us volunteer. So I think at Cornerstone we've got like a very good understanding what it means to volunteer and what comes.
And I think that when it comes to volunteering, it's part of an act of service that we're doing within our church, because we feel we want to give back to the community, we want to give back to God. We've prayed about the situations and we've taken the opportunities that are arisen, and I think this is what we're doing for volunteering, is finding the opportunities to spread God's word and establish His kingdom here on earth. What it's all about in Matthew 28 is for us to go out and make disciples, for us to build His kingdom, for us to do the will of God, and part of that is volunteering, us sacrificing our time, our energy, with the mindset that this is for God. It's not for us to get a certificate, it's not for us to get a pat on the back, it is us giving back to God. And I think when we've got that mindset, what Ashlyn's going to say next, because I know it really well, this is what comes after, because our minds are going, how do we give back to God, and how do we spread the news of God throughout Shorts or other communities?
No, exactly. So what Robert was saying was when you make the decision to step out in ministry or just step up a little bit in church, something called spiritual warfare can really attack you, I suppose, is the best way forward. And it can come in many, many different forms. It can affect your situation, it can affect your relationships, it can affect how you think on the inside, it can affect literally everything that you feel or that you do. And spiritual warfare is a whole big topic of its own. It's not something that we'll cover in depth today, but if that is something that you want to hear about, just as like a little side note, let us know, because it's something that we can totally talk about in the future, because it is so important. But as for volunteering, spiritual warfare can really, really come at you. So I say for me, I can use my personal example. Last year now, I set up to teach on a Friday night, which means automatically my work got busier, everything else got busier. Fridays always seem to be the worst day. I've always got plans on youth after a Friday. So something always happens, something always comes up, because it does, because it can. Because as soon as I'm stepping out for God, as soon as I'm wanting to do something to better my relationship or to serve the community or serve my community, or serve my church, do whatever it is, as soon as I take an extra step for God, take an extra step for my relationship with Him and with my church, Satan's going to come at you, because he doesn't want you to have that relationship. And that's something that sounds scary, and I suppose it is a little bit. But that's why you're part of a church. And that's why you have a fellowship, and that's why you have things around you to help you keep that relationship with God that might be affected by spiritual warfare. So for us, that's Jeremiah study on a Thursday night, or attending church on a Sunday, or even at youth. Like, we spend so much time with it. I almost called them kids, I think. If you're watching this, you're not children, I swear. But when we're spending time with the youth, like, that all really gives back to us. But then also in your personal time as well, it's really important for you to be spending some serious time with God on your own, which also might look like Bible study, podcasts, worship. Like, it can come in a multitude of ways. There's no one way to do it. But when it comes to volunteering, when it comes to stepping out, that spiritual warfare is something that you have to really be looking out for, and really take a step back and think, because it can affect things that you wouldn't even think about. Like, it can come in anywhere.
Ashton's right there, because volunteering, because you're actively seeking these opportunities with no motive about getting paid, with no motive about a qualification. It is simply you going, God means so much to me, and I'm going to do things for Him. Like, we spoke about that in our previous videos, of doing things in accordance to God, doing things because God's asked us to do it, doing things because in the mindset it is for God. And that's what volunteering is all about, is us going out for God. That when we are doing these things, there'll be times where it's going to get difficult. There'll be times where you're going to have to look at your personal life and go, okay, there's choices I'm going to have to make. I've said yes to volunteering here, like, so that's youth group here, so I volunteer to come here. There's going to be a time where my mates are going to be like, do you want to come out?
And you have to be like,
and I'm going to have to be like, there's that time where you're going to have to make those decisions between, are you full in for God, or are you going to make the decisions? But I think volunteering will if we just say it with this, is us finding opportunities. You volunteering is you actively serving God. That's what volunteering is. Finding opportunities for you to serve God, and they can come in many different forms. Usually it comes in the forms of worship or in Sunday school, but it could literally be you're the cleaner, or you're the person that does something in your church. You're volunteering. It's you realising and spending your time wisely. And I think that's something that you want to take away from this, is be in prayer and really decide, where do I want to serve my time? Where do I want to put my time? Do I want to put it in places where I serve God, or do I want to put it in places where in different areas? But I think that's it. Be in prayer, find opportunities for you, and ask people within your church, is there somewhere where I can serve? And I can tell you for sure, they will find your
There's
space.
Somewhere for you to go.
Because it's a body, we're a body as a church, so we're finding places. And it could be like you're volunteering your services with a food bank, or kids club, or youth group, or something. And I think that's just finding your time, being in prayer, and seeking God's will, and being obedient to that. But if you have any volunteer ideas, we would love to know. If you're like, oh, could we do this? More than happy to listen to it, or we can pray for you, anything else. But we hope that you get something out of this video. Please feel free to comment, subscribe, share with your friends, with your youth, anything. And with that, make good choices. Bye.